Hello, everyone. My name is David Popalisky, and I want to welcome you to the Mayer Theater. Wow, it's been a long time since we've been in the theater together, and that's really special.
I have been doing works with environmental focus for about 10 years. And when I was thinking about what was my next big work, there's many aspects of the environment you could work on, but water was something that I've been so blessed to have a million different experiences with, and I love, and I realized how precious it was.
That from which is everything that exists, and from which it first becomes, and into which it is rendered at last, its substance remaining under it, but transforming in qualities, that they say is the element and principle of things that are. For it is necessary that there be some nature, either one or more than one, from which become the other things of the object being saved. This type of philosophy says that it is water.
I think we wanted to make a statement of where we were at the time. Where are we personally with water, and where are we as citizens of the world with water?
That from which is everything that exists, and from which it first becomes, and into which it is rendered at last.
So the water crisis, it's such one of these gigantic issues, just like the whole climate change issue. How do you address that? So dance, I think, communicates people on a level that they're not fully conscious of. I gradually brought people in on this project. I had this vision, I had this idea, and Scot Hanna Weir was the first person that I brought in because I love choral music. I had done some works to choral music, and he's our choral director, and I thought, I want to do this to singing voices.
We had a lot of meetings that were very sort of all ideas are good ideas, brainstorming sessions, and we really started from the perspective of what are the things that we want to make sure that the piece addresses. We wanted to make sure that we knew we couldn't hit everything, but we wanted to make sure that we were really representing what some of the real challenges and issues around water are, but also the beauty and wonder of it that draws us in as people to it. I'm Scot Hanna Weir. I'm the Director of Choral Activities at Santa Clara University, and I was the composer and music director for the Water Project.
Hi, I'm Derek Duarte. I'm a lighting designer, and I, with Kathy Aoki, did the projections for the Water Project. Well, originally David wanted to do a piece on water. He wanted to develop it with a group of people, and he enlisted Scott and Kathy, and I might have been third or fourth in line. I don't know. You'd have to ask him.
The Water Project started as a conversational idea led by David Popalisky, and it was an opportunity for collaboration. So when the project started, that's really how I entered into it. It was a strong idea, and I would have the opportunity to work with some of my favorite people on campus, and join our creative energies to make something. So I guess first and foremost, it was a collaboration. It became I think a really powerful connection with people about the issue of water.
And then the sort of second tier of collaborators, Jeff Bracco, Barbara Murray, and Jerry Enos. Jeff wrote the script and worked with the actor who was our sort of MC of sorts. And then Barbara did the costumes, and Jerry did, mostly worked on the big bottle. Then we brought in people like Iris Stewart Fry and Ed Maurer. And Iris came to more of our meetings, and Ed communicated, but this is her area of research, and she was very thoughtful. So we didn't want to be just spewing out ideas without being grounded in the scientific facts of the changes that are happening because of global warming or because of overdevelopment or whatever it might be. So they would help and keep us straight on that, and their input of what their research was inspiring to how we artistically suggest that.
In recent years, communities and activists have started to push for greater justice in many areas of social and environmental justice, including water.
I'm Iris Stewart-Fry. I'm a professor of environmental studies and sciences at Santa Clara University. So I was a science advisor on this project. This was very much driven by theater and dance and bringing different types of artists together. And a good colleague of mine and I, we work on water issues in a scientific or more engineering sense. And we were grounding the project in that respect with our expertise. Ed and I are really on campus, the water experts, if you will.
My name's Ed Maurer. I'm the current chair and a professor in the Department of Civil, Environmental, and Sustainable Engineering at Santa Clara University. My research has been always around water, mostly around climate change impacts on water. Being brought in as an engineer on an artistic project is always interesting, and I always enjoy it. And I always feel out of my depth, and I'm always left in awe of what artists can create to capture the spirit of what, at least in my field, we tend to bury with lots of jargon, and they make it very tangible.
Dance, I think dance really was a good medium to explore how water moves. And I want to, one of my favorite pieces in this, well, my two favorite probably are Wells and the finale. And what I loved about Wells, and in talking with Scott, the composer, he had this very sustained, calm pace, which just was there. And it was about the slow movement of water underground, which water tables, just like any water, above and below, is going to gradually seek lower ground if it can move through the porous sediment. But it's very gradual. And water that seeps down through riverbeds, it's a gradual, slow process. I mean, this was research that was done in 1920s and culminated in that 1926 report about water here in Santa Clara Valley.
March 1921. It is shown that the growth of the orchard industry is such that in 11 or 12 years, all of the remaining available land will have been planted. The present development of the valley is such that 2/3 of the maximum demand for water has been reached, and the maximum demand will probably be reached by the end of the next decade. One committee member said, "If the water level continues to fall for the next 10 years as rapidly as the past 10, thousands of acres of orchards will die for lack of water, resulting in a tremendous loss in values. That cannot be allowed to happen." Water is precious, and water is limited.
This underground water supply should be considered partly as a vast reservoir underlying the entire valley. And partly as a very slowly and irregularly moving body of water.
If I'm trying to really kind of communicate a theme, which we did in the water project, we wanted to not just celebrate water with beautiful movement, but we wanted to encourage people to think about how they are in relationship with water.
The problem is not that we're running out of water, but that we're running out of water in the places where we need it. I think there's huge potential, especially around the topic of water. Water is kind of an interesting theme because we all need water. Water is what makes the life around us. Every tree, every piece of food that we eat, anything in our environment basically needs the water. And but it's also, and it has a very much a spiritual aspect to it too. You know, water comes, it takes a central role in many, many religions. And you know, in our ceremonies, in our poetry, in our art. But on the other hand, we have this kind of denial about the engineering part of bringing water to people. I think we really had to think about how we present what we do day to day, because in many ways, as scientists, we're also set in our ways, you know, thinking about graphics, thinking about logic, thinking about numbers. And artists very much think about the creative process. They very much think about the effect it has on the audience. They think about aspects you know, of a different topic coming together and how to express that.
When I think about water, I have that feeling of power that comes from water. And I'm also fascinated by how water is a commodity and concerned about that. So in my research, I found it really interesting to learn how water is distributed and how rights to water happen, and also who is in charge of water. This whole idea of money connected to water. I just wanted to know more. So I did more research on that, and I found a number of stories, some of which show kind of like the darker side of commodification, and other parts which are success stories where like small towns were able to fight large corporations that wanted to come in, pump all their water for almost nothing and bottle it and then sell it all over the world for huge profits. So I found a combination of stories and tried to pick and choose which ones would be the, you know, resonate the best and also have the most interesting graphics. So that was the straight animation part. And the commodification idea, though, for the spirit of that kind of hoedown dance, that was all Scott. And it might have been that we talked about, you know, I said water is something that's worshipped, and we talked about this visual idea of like a water bottle being worshipped. But it might have been Scott or David that decided that the water bottle should explode at the end. So there was like a combination of people coming together on the visuals for that.
We are wasting a lot of water on uses that are not essential. So, and we're not thinking in kind of the boundaries that water is moving in naturally, like for example, a watershed. And what we're doing right now is we're thinking in political boundaries where there's an irrigation district over here and then there's a city over here, and they both draw out water as much as they want to, or as much right as they have to do that.
My own angle on it looks at sort of drought and flooding in the context of climate change. So what we've already experienced, we're seeing unprecedented flooding, and we're seeing unprecedented drought occurrences, not just in the US, around the world. 20, 30 years ago, the climate scientists were saying, we're going to see unprecedented rainfall, we're going to see unprecedented, and it's happening at least partly because we didn't do anything about it, and we knew what was happening. There were some deceptive campaigns launched by people, individuals, and organizations who control oil and coal and make a lot of money from it and didn't want to change.
Floodwaters continue to rise, submerging cars. Continue to rise. Floodwaters continue to rise, submerging cars. Continue to rise, submerging cars.
We had lots of different ideas sort of flowing, and started to think about what could be a piece of dance and music. So some of those ideas came from me, like the flood and covenant piece that takes the biblical passage of God promising Noah that will never destroy the world through flood, and pairs it with all of these news reports of devastating flooding events.
86-year-old woman died when water rushed.
Death toll to call for evacuation. Hundreds of residents have been forced from their homes.
An 86-year-old woman died when water
Death toll from flood. Time to over 1,200.
A woman died when water.
Death toll from flood.
Died when water.
So I understand the concerns about water issues. At the same time, I really wanted to celebrate how much water is beautiful and central to our lives. So there was a section in the piece called Water Memories, and we just asked cast members, everybody involved, to just share something they recall or how they feel about water. And for a lot of people, it became one of the more meaningful sections.
Water is something that connects to us spiritually.
Every time I am in water, I am reminded of the comfort and the dedication that my mother would give in bathing me as a child. And so it brings happiness and peace more than anything.
On these rafting trips, we would just have so much fun in the water. We would play, we would pour water on each other, and it was just really fun and easy.
Growing up, hearing the rain on the rooftop was always calming and soothing and kind of lulling me back to sleep. And still, hearing the rain on the skylight where I live now, it just wakes you up in the middle of the night and it's a thought, oh, it's raining. And then it just slowly brings you back to sleep.
When I'm feeling out of sorts and actually just lost, that I go to the beach, and it just being near the waves and in the water somehow grounds me in a way that I'm not able to get to in other environments.
When I'm at the ocean, what I see in the waves is power and also a sense of the unknown.
And the flooding in Iowa is, the entire Missouri River that's overflowing, and there's that concept of it can't evaporate fast enough. It keeps falling and it can't escape.
One experience was being under a river's waterfall. It wasn't that big, but I could feel the force of the water pushing against my body and resisting it, and almost having this tug of war with water. And it was just so exhilarating and just splashed around you that it just made you feel so alive, made me feel so energized.
Anytime I go hiking, I like to end at a body of water. As a creature made mostly of water, I like to know there's water there. I like to find it.
We all influenced each other a lot. I think setting the priorities we set at the beginning about how we were going to tell the story. The first dance is the glory of water and how much water means to us. And then we talk about wells taking water out of the earth, and all these things that we prioritized at the beginning: commodification of water, floods, the destruction of water, and then coming back to our personal feelings about water and glory of water. All that arc was set from the beginning. And we all kind of just kept pushing that and saying, that's what we want to do, that's what we want to do, that's what we want to do. And I think that collaborative part of it brought out the best in everyone.
Artistic experience is something that is so very human. I mean, we look back to civilizations and we look at their art. We look at what they left behind, whether it's the drawings on the walls, the cave paintings. I think when you witness something, whether it be a dance performance, a theater, a play, or read a book, whatever, you're engaged on a level that you're somewhat disarmed sometimes. You know, like, whoa, you know, you feel something, and you can think your way around things, you can have your counter arguments, but when you feel something real, it's hard to deny it. And I think the stories told through performance bring home some of the facts and figures that you see in the news or you read in a report. And so that's where I think art functions, to humanize critical issues of our time.
How do you stay hopeful when you're researching something like this?
I don't think there's an alternative. If we're not hopeful, what else are we going to do? We can, crawl into our hole, or we can try to ignore it all. But I think we know too much to not try to create, to be part of the hope and to be part of the change. Where are the big savings that we can do? And there are actually studies that talk about, how much water can be saved, by using more appropriate technology, changing kind of antiquated laws that come out of a time of the gold rush when everything, all natural resources was a free-for-all, until we realized we cannot go on like that. And it gives me hope that we are able to change that mindset, and we're there with water. It's not a free-for-all. And even if we are in the lucky position of being able to turn on our tap right now and basically let it flow, we have to change our mindset to we're part of a watershed that's always water limited, not only during a drought. And there are other users, and we need to make that work. We need to distribute that water in a way to where, like everybody gets a share to have a decent life, but also the environment around that is protected.
Continuing to work on things is really where it comes from. I feel like there are so many people doing great things. There's when people want a quick answer and ask, what can I do to fight climate change? The first answer we give nowadays is vote for people that understand that it's happening and understand what the solutions are and how to get there.
I mean, water is so much more than science, right? Water is who we are. Water is the life in us. Water is the life in our surroundings. Water is the life in the food that we're eating.
Thank you to the San Francisco Bay Area Chamber Choir. And let's get the creative team on stage.